Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what my talk is actually about, and that is about castles. Because what's more cooler than castles? And not only castles, but actually everything history. Because like there are a few things in my life that are very important to me, and that is food, 3D art, Blender, and history. And especially history and Blender, in my opinion, are perfectly combinable. And the way I did that, and the way I started doing that more and more, and it was only that after some time that I realized that I actually wanted to do this for my work. And I'm still not there. I'm still working on it. Is when I created a ship. So this render for me was very significant. Right now I could do way better, and I did. But this was very significant for me. I was playing a role-playing game online with friends, like a forum where you post stories after each other, and you build a story together. And this was a story about we were actually pirates of the 17th century from the Netherlands, and we had 2 ships. And with these ships, we sailed to England to buy illegal goods, and then we sailed back. But on the way, we were attacked by the English army, and one of our ships got totally obliterated, and the other managed to escape. And I decided, I'm a 3D artist. I'm going to make this awesome story into a painting. So I did. And that was this model. So I made the ship after some random ship I found on the internet, and then I destroyed it and I put one actually all these ships are all copies of each other. They're all the same ship, but I changed like a little details, like for example the masts and stuff. And people really liked when I make this. And right now I look back at it, yeah, it's a little bit like last gen gamey feel to it, and it's fine. And the visuals are still and it means a lot to me. But lately I decided I could do better. I've been using Blender for over 9 years now. So I tried to create a better image. It doesn't have the same feel. To it. And some of you might have seen it online on my portfolio. My portfolio, by the way, is on ArtStation, and if you type in Mr. De Rijk, you can find my portfolio. And this next step was I wanted to do a better job, a more detailed job, so I sought proper references. And the reference I took was from a Dutch yacht. Dutch yacht, or yacht, you say yacht in English. It's yacht. It's a Dutch ship name, so yacht is the right way to say it. Now those are mostly luxury ships, but back then they were still luxury ships, but they were mostly military. They were like the ships for admirals, small, fast ships. They could sail between bigger ships to give them orders and not to be easily catched. So it's like a ship with like one row of cannons, one very luxury part in the back where the admiral would sit, one big sail and one topsail, and I forgot all these names, sail names. They're awesome, but there's so many words for ships, for ship parts. So let's see that I opened the right one. Yeah, this one. So I created the model, and this is what I ended up with. So as you can see here, I imported the reference. Here's a little one from the back, and built a ship out of it. So I first did the lines from the outside, and then went for the details. And topology lines are very important for ships because they have lines already. They're made of planks, they're made of beams, so the lines are already there. And if you don't follow them, it will get weird with textures, and also it just doesn't feel very right. So you want to follow the lines that are already there, and that makes it's actually like it really feels like building a ship, because when you're building a ship, you're also following these lines. And then I went on to add detail. I added the sails. I actually sculpted them a bit to like feel like they're actually in the wind. I didn't want to use cloud simulation for these because it was a still image, and with sculpting I could do a better job. For other projects I've used cloud simulation because cloud simulation in Blender is awesome. And yeah, so I added more details, added cannons, added these side things. They're called swords, I believe. Yeah. And those are there for if the ship goes too far to the side because of the wind. They will drop them in the water, and they will change the balance of the ship. So the ship will keep upright, and they will prevent the ship from like going sideways and falling over. And this was actually a Dutch invention which helped ships to have a very shallow bottom and still have a big sail, because a big sail means you're going to be blown over, and a shallow bottom also means you don't have much to counter that in the water. So they invented these to have big sails with shallow ships that made them one of the fastest ships from the era. And I'm still proud of that as a Dutchman myself. And then, actually, if you can see here, I added the old ship back in. So this is the ship from the image that I showed you before. And the sails are actually in the same configuration. But it was turned the other way. So it was turned that way. So yeah, it's the same ship, and it's not too detailed, but if you see, you only see it from a distance because you look from here. So, but yeah, just empty ships, like spooky ships. Spooky ships are fun for stories, but if you want to do it realistically, it would be weird that you have all these empty ships. So I needed to add people in this layer. And what I did, like I have a very low poly model of one character, and actually I need to make a bit more because in some time you can see that they're almost all the same characters. So what I did, I have these characters, and I like in this shader characters have, so I actually made a node group that's called shirt, and in that node group I made a system where I could take two colors and use those for both the hair and the shirt to change the colors according to whatever I want. And that way I could very quickly like give them all different color shirts. And even though they have the same shirt on and the same head, from a distance you would only see the colors. So that would be enough to like convince people that they're all different people, all different persons. So I can just, with like a slider, I can just change the color of the shirt here. And to go a little more technical, I use an overlay. So you have the original texture. So yeah, you can see like the shirt is actually gray, and when you use the overlay layer, it neatly lays over that color over the gray, and it still keeps the detail of the shirt, but it makes it the color you want. So that's for all the shirts and the hair, because I can make it like blonde or brown or black. I added a couple of hats. So here's a big hat. It is not. It's bigger than this one. I still need to make these. I want this hat too. And a tricorn hat. It's was very popular under sailors. So there's population, and these people, they look like they're floating in the air, but they're not floating in the air because they're actually sitting in boats. So I made a sloop, and a sloop is a rowing ship, and this is our big sloop. And the big sloops are meant to carry people from the coast to the ships, because these ships are rarely actually, when they were at the docks, they rarely went at the side of the docks. They often just stayed just out of shore with their anchor in the sea bottom, and then they just carried over with sloops and often also boats for packaging and cargo. And they would load it on and then go back and forth until the ship was full and they would sail off. And I made another boat here that's like full of people going on the way to another ship in the background. And I actually, the big ships, there were other people floating. So this is the actual camera. Okay, I know why this one. This is to see this ship in the phone. Okay, so this is the water, and if I go to this camera, this is the final shot that I came up with. Right now you see that the water stops. I don't want to load the whole water because it's high resolution and it won't slow down the thing very much. So I added a bit of seagulls to add more life to the image. Added some flags, and the flags use cloud simulation. So these are the Dutch flags, red, white, and blue. This is called the Princeton flag, which is actually 2 flags on top, or sometimes even 3 flags on top of each other, like three stripes, 2 times 3 stripes. And so I put all these layers together and render it, and what we get is, big surprise, not if you've already seen it, is this image. And I was very happy with this when it came out. I was like, I didn't know I could make it so much better, because back then I thought I made it as good as I could. But still, if you compare this to this, there's a huge improvement. And right now I'm like, well, this is one of the best things I can create. But in a few years, I'm like, what did I do? What was I thinking back then? What was wrong with me? Why did I make it so stupid? I can make it way better. I'm kidding. It's not stupid. I know. But you have to be a bit shy to not be too arrogant, right? Oh, which layer management add-on am I using? That's a very good question. It's called layer management, and it's shipped It's shipped with Blender by default, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, you can just enable it in the add-ons, and it will give you an extra layer on the side where you can name your layers. And of course, with Blender 2.8, that's not going to be needed anymore, because layers are going to be added in the outliner. So yeah, you can actually use layers back there and name them. But for now, this is really, really handy. So yeah, nice scene, historical context, but not like a historical reality. So I wanted to go further. I wanted to make things that were supposedly real. And of course, it's hard because it's history. So we don't know. We're not around anymore. We weren't around back then. And not everything is stored from that era. But I wanted to try my best. So my next project was going to be a castle. And this castle was castle or kasteel in Dutch, Kasteel Duurstede. And Kasteel Duurstede is a castle that lies somewhere in the center of the country, and it's a castle that's from the Middle Ages and was extended in the later times, the Renaissance period, to be bigger, more pretty. And eventually it got destroyed, or it got abandoned, and they broke it down, used the stones for other things, because stones are money if you want to build a house. So if you don't use the castle anymore, why have it around? Right now I'm like, why did they do it? Why would you ever break down a castle? But back then they were like, well, yeah, we're not using it. It's just standing there. So that's how things go. Anyway, the lucky thing is that in the Renaissance period, the Dutch had a lot of painters and drawers, and these liked to paint like castles and surroundings and cities and forests. So from that era, we have a lot of visual idea of how it looked. So also from this castle, and there are actually paintings from that era, and I can show them to you. Like I searched everywhere online, in books, everywhere, and I grabbed everything together that I could find of this castle. So there are actually paintings of the time still findable. And you can see that the castle was quite big. It had like 4 or 5 floors, an attic. There was a gatehouse in front, a long gates towards it, towers everywhere. I actually have to show you what's still standing, because there are still some left. It's not like completely flattened. So if you look at this image right here, you can see what's still standing. So there's one square tower, and there is one round tower. The square tower is actually the keep. It was the strongest part of the building. Then there's like a lower part of the wall, and this bridge is actually not old. It's recently made, because wood doesn't stay that long, especially not if it's in water. So yeah, there were a lot of images on this castle, and that was great, because that means that I could make it as close to supposed reality as I want. And some people even went so far as to make like schematics for how it would have looked, and that's great, because you can use it in Blender very, very well. So there's one from the side, from the square tower, and there is one from the round tower as well. And of course, a map from the top. And those are great, because they save so much time. I don't have to go in real life, walk around with a measuring tape, measure out where everything is. I can just get some sizes for a few things, and then just make the whole thing from that. So then I have these things, and then I get to work. And like, I'm not really someone who makes a lot of concepts first, but I do get a lot of like mood boards, like a bunch of pictures that I put together to get an idea in my head, to like form a vision in my head. For example, this is a very important folder to me, and that's the old painting folder. I don't have matching, because I only put in the paintings that I really like, and sometimes I just forget to put them in, or I put them in an online folder. I have a lot of paintings in an online folder too, but those are paintings that just like, they catch my eye, and they won't let go of it. They have feeling in it. There is tension, there is story, there is life going on, and that is what makes them so great, and that's what like makes me inspired to make them like that. And that's why I like the title of my presentation is Artistic Historical Reconstruction. It's not just pure architectural historical rebuilding of something. No, I want to give it an artistic feel. I want not only to have the factual thing be there, but I actually want the feeling of that time to come alive. And those paintings do that so well. But they didn't do everything, so I want to do my part with it. And this is actually proof that people actually really walked around in the thing, because this was a drawing of a normal man, a normal rich man. So they actually walk with all these things. If you walk around like this now, I mean, I walk around with this hat and people look weird. If you walk around like this, like, yeah, people think you walk straight out of a movie. But it was normal. It was normal back then. No one thought you were weird. Everyone looked up to you. So now let's go to the scene. So this is the castle. And if you look from the top and compare it to the... so from the top, you can see it really resembles. So the big tower, the square tower, the gatehouse, and then the part that is not standing anymore. And like the thing I really like to do with these buildings is to like iterate, and I like to like first make the simple one. So I first make, and I don't have it because like I work very destructive sometimes. I forget to save in between states, but like you start with the simple blocky building. Like the walls are exactly the right size, but they're just the big walls from one side of the building to the other corner. Round tower is just one round cube. Roof is just a slab. And then you go iterate on that. And you can see on the back, like the back is very simple still. So I go into this mode. You can see the polygons on the back are not very interesting. But if you go to the front, there's all the windows and stuff, because I didn't do much on the back because you don't see it on the image anyway. And maybe if I do some other side decals, I will build that part too. And then you add more detail. So you start adding ridges to the roofs, supports to the bottom of the roof, supports halfway the wall where the wall is resting or sticking out, windows. And those windows actually have like inside iron bars and stones. Those stones are actually separate pieces, and I can like make them all look different, because if I would just have copied it over, since the windows are just prominent parts of the image, you would really see that it's all the same pattern. So I made a couple of different stones and I put them in a different pattern for every window. And I really like this one because of the yellow and the gold. It really like brings out an accent in the building. I don't know if the thing hang there, but this is the real seal, or how do you call that? The heraldic seal from the town or from the castle, because the town took it from the castle. So they might have put something up there to show it. I think they did it instead of flags. Often you see like flags hanging out of castles, and it's like, oh, here's this lord because this flag is hanging out. But flags, especially back then, like cloth wasn't as cheap as it is now with all our cotton producing, and also wasn't as like durable as we have now. So it would be a waste to hang flags outside of these buildings all time just for show. So they might have made things like this above their roof. So yeah, so I kept on adding details. I added the whole bridge thing, and I added with the beams and stuff. And as you can see, like I didn't focus much on the whole thing with or sometimes I did, like these. No, I didn't. Yeah. Like often when you make real things, people start saying, oh, you have to bevel everything and make all the details because it's always going to matter. But that's not, I didn't really agree with that. And it also depends on the size of your project, the size of the final result, the amount of money you're going to get paid for it. So that really changes it. But like, for example, like if there's like a plank and it's far away enough, yes, there might be this one pixel that's a little lighter around the edge because of there was a bevel. But you really need to consider, like, especially if you have limited resources or you're making something that is an investment and you're not really getting paid for, or you made something for like a small museum or stuff. They don't have too much money. So they want you to have it look as good as possible with as few as possible resources. So you need to figure out where it's important to add detail and where it's important to leave detail. And for example, like I felt on this, for example, edges of buildings, like the edge of this chimney, when I didn't add the bevel, it was very sharp and you could really see it. And when I add the bevel, like that edge disappeared and the sharpness disappeared out of it. And it really made it feel like these stones were actually just cornered off and made the H-shaped chimney here instead of just H-shaped tube with the painting of bricks painted on it or something. So all these things, like, they contribute, and it's like, that's what I like about it, like figuring out what's needed and what's not, and where to put your focus and what to leave. And for the background, I added a mill that might have been there. It's made after a painting, but not necessarily from that place. But so yeah, it's also not too detailed, but the details for the distance that it's at, because it's going to be at that distance, they are enough. They are enough to give the realistic feel, to give the feel that I want to bring. And as I said, for me, it's not about making the perfect realistic thing. For me, it's about making the perfect realistic feeling. And then it's up to detail. So yeah, I add an area around. In real life, there's a river flowing next to it, and the river is actually much wider than this. But for now, this will do. Added some grass only on the parts, because my PC is not the best. Only on the parts where the camera is going to see it, so not like back here and around. And then I kept on adding stuff. I added posts in the water, posts along the side to keep like the ground steady, because if water flowing past it, it might like corrode the ground. A fence here, because I figured, well, maybe some sheep walk here sometimes, so they build a fence around this. Hey, and there's our sloop. I like reusing assets. Not too obvious, but I like reusing it so it gives a sense of coherence. And like, the thing with movies where they've like, oh, this is all part of a similar universe because this car is the same as that car. I don't want to do it that secretly, but I want everything to feel coherent and part of the same world. And of course, that duck. I believe the video of this duck is still visible on my Twitch stream, where I make it. It's hand painted and sculpted, and it's not too complex, but as I said, it's enough for the distance that it's at. To make it more alive, and you can see that in every painting that I could find, there are people in it, and there are often more people in it than you will see on first glance. So if you look at this one, you think, oh, okay, I see two people. They're sitting on the boat here. You look, wait, there's someone standing on the bridge here, right? You just walk over there, and you're like, wait, there is someone behind the haystack standing here. And then you look more, and they're like, whoa, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people on the cart here that's being pulled by a goat or a cow or something. And the longer you look, the more people you see. They're the obvious people in front, and they're the hidden people. But they're also not really hidden, but they just don't draw your attention. But if you look longer, then you see them. And it's the same here. Like there are more people, more obvious here, like the couple skating here, and the people here with the horse, and then there's a girl with her mother. But then there's also a lady standing there under the building, and there's one near the stairs. There's one standing there, and there's even one inside the window over here, very hidden. And there are a lot of people like skating there in the back. So where you thought, oh, this thing had like 10 people in it, you end up counting like 30 people. Let's see if we have more examples here. This one less obvious, but here are like 2, and then there's one in the back with his dog. Inspiration for the mill, as you can see. Let's see, I had another one. Okay, I haven't saved it. Cities are of course more people in it. Then for me, it was also adding people. Like it's a bit hard to show you the hiddenness and clearness of people because they're like there's not much around. And I think like it's I'm not done with this piece, but like the clear person is the one in the boat, of course. But then you see like there's actually one standing there on the side of the grass, like waving at him, dude, come over here. I'm stuck on this island, I can't go out. And then you see like in the back, oh, there are some people walking in, and actually with the shadows you'll see in the end that it works different. And there's also someone here, and now he's like sitting like weird, but there's going to be a tree here. You'll see that in a second. And they're like I want to add more to this. It's not done, but I wanted to have that feel like there are obvious people, but there are also hidden people, and together they make a story. So then we have the trees. Okay, these trees are made by hand. They're not made with a plugin or something, and I'm going to use the plugin, the Grove, more because it's awesome. But I also like making trees. So yeah, I made these trees by hand. I really like these knotted willows. They just have these like very Dutch feel to it. You see them everywhere. If you ever walk in the countryside in the Netherlands, you see these trees everywhere, and they have been here for hundreds of years. Like, not necessarily these trees, but people have been making these trees, because trees don't grow like that normally. You have to cut them every year or every 2 years, I believe. You have to cut them completely at the same spot, and you cut them off, and then like the next year they grow new branches very fast, because willows grow very fast if they have enough water. Have I used ngPlant? No, I haven't. Is that a plugin? I haven't even heard of it. Like, I know of the Ivy. The Ivy is for like moss and climb up. What do you call that? For Ivy, of course. And then there's the sapling default blender tree make thing. And then there's the grove, the paid one, which is awesome. Anyway, big trees in the background. And if we go further, we can add some more trees, and all these trees are killing my computer. So I'm going to disable them for now. And then there's some more detail that really adds character to the water, and that's the reed. So all these reeds, if I like go to them, the computer won't like it. I really won't like it because they're all linked. Okay, they're all modeled, so these are not particles. Maybe I changed that if it really impacts the thing, but I didn't feel like it was using. Oh, it's a standalone program. Okay, well maybe I have heard of it, but I haven't used it. I will look it up. Thank you. So for anyone in the chat, if you need a program, is it free or is it paid? Yeah, so that's character. And then there's the sky. And this is the thing I often do. Like, there is a, let's see if I can bring it up. I changed that. But the sky actually, like, oh wait, maybe I need to add, put this on, of course. Where is it? This, okay. So you see I used an HDRI for the lighting, but HDRIs, especially if you like have free ones that are not too expensive, they're very like lower resolution for an HDRI. And when you look with a camera with the long lens, it really like enlarges the pixels, and you really see that it's like a lower resolution than the actual final image. So what I do is, like, I use another image with more or less the same color as the sky, and a higher resolution. I put that in the background as a backdrop, and that is actually my sky that you see instead of the sky from the HDRI. And that really changes everything. And it only like really works for like still images, because if you make this an animation, you would have like moved the thing or something, but that would look weird in the, I don't know how you would do that. There's probably a way, but yeah. And then there's the lighting, and for the lighting, I had to add some obstructions because I want to feel this shadowy feel, like there are clouds floating over and they're like covering up parts, but other parts are still in the light. So what I did, I just took like a leaf thing, made it black, and used the alpha of the leaf to make an interesting thing. There are giant leaves floating, like branches floating in the sky, but they're actually there to provide fake shadows to make the final image more interesting. And if you put everything that together, you render a few hours. So then you see everything together. You see the lighting working. You see the fake shadows on the castle, and some of the shadows are actually there because different parts of the castle were like very bright, where I actually didn't want them, because I wanted the focus of the light being this facade, because it has these white parts to it. It's very Dutch design. But the windows were also catching a lot of sun because they were very bright, and a few of them were like exactly at the right spot to like burn the light into your eyes. So I added the fake shadow here to only have the light there, and that's like to lead the eye, because I didn't want, like, there are people there, but I didn't want the people to be the focus. The castle is the focus because it's about the castle, but the people, they add life to it. They add story to it. And that was the way I wanted to do it. So then you see like these people are actually in the shadow. They're walking in the shadow of this big tree here on the side. So yeah, a lot more to do with this. I need to like smallen the reliefs, but like because currently a leaf of a tree is as big as someone's arm, so that's not really like realistic in that sense. But yeah, that's this castle. I feel like this would be a great scene to try with Filmic Blender, since that's all the rage at the moment. Yeah. Did I use Filmic Blender for this one? I believe this was... No, I did. I did use Filmic Blender. No, I didn't. Oh, wait. It's because like it's always there if you install it. No, I didn't use it for this yet, but maybe the re-render. I have to re-look at the lighting. I don't know why this is out of this order. The image. Anyway, another castle, and this castle is called Groot Poelgeest, which means big pool spirit or something. Well, actually, it's like the big was because it was a big castle, and Poelgeest was actually the name of the lord who lived there. So he named the castle after himself. Then there's the research part, and I really like it. I like doing that. And the research part is like searching on the internet to the weirdest websites, like this very weird Dutch website that's very ugly. It's just red with blue letters. Why would you make a website red with blue letters? But it has some valuable information, like a quick story on different important eras from the castle that are known about. Some of the people that lived there from even the 1300s. And the first one being Dirk van Poelgeest, which is the one who probably built the castle, or his father did. What about the current situation? A couple of photos. How currently there's just one tower standing, and that's one of the gatehouse towers. Yeah, so it's like you have these weird sites. This is from the top, so this is the island where it was on. So okay, yeah. So I'll get to it because like I keep talking about everything. So I put like the most important parts on a list. There was one important, like a little story that was there that really touched me, and it was like one of the wars here in the Netherlands between like lords of castles and cities. One of them was like between the then probably king, like some people wanted him to be king and others like didn't want him. They just wanted to be an independent country. And a war came up. And in this war, they tried to take the city Leiden. Leiden is a city not close from my home. It's a very old city, like from the early Middle Ages. And they tried to take it, but it was also one of the most fortified. So what they did, they took all the castles around it. And this castle was one that was there. But the lord, which was currently the second Gerrit van Poelgeest, he was actually just out of home. And that was very lucky because when he came back, his whole family, all his guards, his the people working for his castle, like the cooks, everyone was massacred, decapitated. Like I read that, and it was like in a historical way, like just facts. I was like, man, that must have been brutal. Like you go out as a lord, as you have a responsibility of a castle, and like I'm not talking about the fighting itself. I'm just talking about daily life, because most of the time people were just sitting in castles. They were not fighting them. They were just sitting in them. And you have all these people living in your house, and you have all the responsibilities, but then you go out with someone else because they ask you to go with them on an expedition, and you come back, and everything, your whole family is just killed because someone else wants to kick someone else's town a few kilometers further on. It was so like, it touched me, and also like how brutal these times must have been. Anyway, like on the other side, it's like a bit hypocritical because I love the stories of it, of course. So yeah, then there's the research part. So this is the tower that's still standing, just one of the gatehouse towers, and a little part of the like entrance. You can see here like a thing. This is the thing from the side, but there are also paintings from this castle, or not actually paintings. There are also drawings from this castle of different eras, and most of them of the Renaissance period, of course, because those were the times that the painters came on. Before that, everyone was just a farmer, or no one wants to buy the paintings. It's possible too, so they just used it as paper for warming or getting on the fire or something. So those are like images of the Renaissance castle, and like the castle Deer stated, they like changed the castle during this period and made it more rich, added bigger windows because they invented cannons, so walls didn't work anyway, so why keep the windows small? And they were way more pretty. They built like this big house on the side. It was actually not originally there. If you look at the back side, this round part, that was old, because you see the small windows, big wall, that was an old part. But the house you see here, that was built later, because this was when like the Lord was rich, and there was less fight around it, and castles were less needed as war things. They were more like a part of like status. And like some artists, like this is actually just from just short of 100 years ago. He like repainted some of the old paintings and made them like more detailed paintings, just like what I do, but like with pen. So yeah, this is not primary source, but it's also very valuable because it gives some insights in what someone else might have thought that it would have been. So yeah, for now, I want to show a little thing. Like I went actually to this castle, and if I look at where I put these things, yeah, the images that I took, like I couldn't get to the aisle because I needed a boat and didn't have one back then, so I just made a picture from the backside. But this is like the era. So if you see here, like this pile of trees over here is where the castle is, and then you have the village which was close, which was also owned by the Lord back then, with the church tower. And the church was just as old. Just the church was also there. So if I'm going to make like a scene from that, the church, like the mill in the other image, the church is going to be in the background. But this house over here, this was actually the wagon house. This was where they kept the horses, and the wagons for the horses and for the people who rode in them, of course. So it belonged to the castle, and this building was also made in the Renaissance period. So if we actually go to that one, you can actually see I took a picture from the front and a picture from the side. I didn't want to go on like the property, so I have to ask if people who live there now, if I can like go there sometime and take good pictures. Yeah, so this building is of course a monument at the moment because it's like 300 years old. So yeah, I took a picture from the front. What I want to do now is take this picture, and of course I took more pictures like this. Those are pictures of the church still standing, and this is a picture of the backside of the building. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to quickly make the facade. This is the little workshop I'm going to give. I'm going to make this facade in Blender, but I'm going to try to make it as quickly and with as least resources possible. But I will still want it to have the feel of that time. So let's go. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open I'm going to open Photoshop because I'm going to need it to manipulate this photo a bit because it's cute. It's like I couldn't like stand right in the middle and I was way too low, of course, to like go high enough. So I'm going to have to manipulate the perspective a bit to get it right. Yeah, so let's take this one because it's the most light. Open it up. Select it. Let's actually select just house. close as possible. This is a better result. Go to this scene and then I actually have to pick one of these. So there is perspective tool, and it's going to allow me to grab this, and I like this one, but it's not. I don't know if it's always right because it's changing the height of things. If it would be straight, it would be like this. I can compare it with the backside image because the backside image was taken further away, which means the perspective distortion is less. Let's see where the backside is. I made that later because it was on the other side. Yeah. So if we take this image and we pass it on here, make it half transparent. And then put like the ground there. Shrink it a bit. Ah, you can see that it's pretty spot on actually. So okay, the distortion is not too much on this. Yeah. Let's rotate it. And let's check on the edge if it's actually upright. Check on this side. Yeah, it's upright. Okay. I'm going to crop it. Crop tool, crop. Center it as much as possible. Okay, I realize I need to there's another way I need to change it, and that's give it a vertical rotation. So edit, transform, perspective. This one, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so it's fairly straight enough to start our project. So we're going to save this as references. Fronts. Okay, so for now, we're just going to facade. We're not going to make the whole building. So yeah, it's time to start up Blender. So I'm going to show you a neat thing, and that's the drag and drop in Blender. So what I often do is I go to my texture view. I'm going to grab my pictures over here, and I'm going to drag this and drop this in here. Now it's loaded in Blender as texture. And then I'm going to grab this part, like this little button. I'm going to click and hold it, and now I can drag it. And if I drag it in here, I can use it as a texture. And I'm not going to do that because it's not going to need in the cube. If I drag it in the 3D viewport, it's going to be a background, because if I hold Control, it's going to make an empty of it. If I release now, you can see it made an empty with an image. And the great thing about this is that this image is you can put it everywhere and it won't be rendered because it's not a real object. It's an empty, which is basically just an image that doesn't exist. Let's see. We need to move it to the center if I want to move it around. Well, we can do it here by -0.5. Okay, so now it's in the center. going to Alt-G this. Now there's another important part, and it's a pity that I didn't have the time to do it. So we're going to have to eyeball. We're going to have to eyeball it, and that's the size of the building. Probably I'm going to say a door. A door is about 1 meter wide, right? I guess. And it's not a standard door because they didn't have standards back then. So if this door, and this really is a door, but it's a door through which they would like put in cargo. So this is 1 meter, and it's like 250 pixels. Oh, use the crop tool and check the perspective box in the header, then drag the corners. Also, you can crop and change the perspective at the same time. Okay, great. Anyway, this is 250 pixels, and this thing is 200. Wait, can't say numbers. So it's 10 times as big. So this is 10 meters. I've been there. I don't really buy that, so I'm going to make it 8 meters. And we can actually like take a transform here and see the X scale. We don't need the scale, we need the size. We can just count, right? So one thing is one block is 1 meter, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to has to be as big as 4. Wait, move the thing. As 4. So let's make it a little bigger, just because of we might be wrong here. Why is there a door in the open space? It's because people back then, they figured that they didn't want to carry stuff up the stairs because you get tired of that. They wanted to use ropes for that. So what they often did in Dutch houses is was to add on top of here, and I don't really know if this building still has it. So this thing, if this is also, I believe it is. Yeah, there is still a part sticking out, and that is for hanging a rope on. And this way you can make a crane, and with a crane you can like lift stuff up. So for example, if this box like let's make this thing a rope. So there's a rope hanging on the crane, and you would like lift the rope and then take the box, lift it up, and put it in the building through the door. So yeah, that's why there's a door in open space, because they used it to put stuff inside the building. Okay, so I have this default cube of mine, and it's a custom default cube because it's not actually a cube; it's a half cube. Because often, I don't really like deleting default cubes, so I made the default cube as useful as possible. So it's already set up with the mirror modifier. That way I can quickly start changing this. So for a real reference, I would want to have a little more like pictures to get things better, but for now I'm going to have to do it with this. So let's see, I'm moving this up to here. I'm going to extrude this here again. Oh, why we're not in this view? Because we don't need materials just yet. I'm going to move this up along here. All right. So, well, we have a facade. We are done. Of course not, because it doesn't look interesting. So if we're going to grab this, put it a little backward. It doesn't look interesting at all. I mean, it's the basic shape of the facade, but it's just like a flat wall of brick. So what we need to do now is bring the change. So we're going to edit. We're going to add. We're going to grab my. Whoa! I'm not finishing my sentences. I'm going to grab my pen and my tablet because it gives me a little more quicker drawing results. So I'm going to put it here, my knife, and I have to change the settings of this a little because if I cut it now, it will only cut the front face, but I wanted to cut all the way through. So I use the K hotkey for that. But let me put on the screen so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Put on control. Oh wait, it's not K, it's Z. Yeah. So now it's cutting through, and then we're going to put C and Z. It's difficult. Okay, we're going to use that to cut straight. So now we have a cut here. We're going to make another one over here, C and Z, and make it straight. And the last one, oh wait, we need to make two more because we have to do a part of this. And then the last one over here, C. Okay. Now we can grab these. Oh, I'm getting a Twitter notification. Extrude them, but I'm going to cancel the extrude. I'm not really cancel it, it's still there. But I'm going to the vertex mode now, and I'm going to deselect the lower parts of these. And then I'm going to move it in the X direction. And with that, and I have snapping on, I can snap it to there. So snapping is a function that is available here in the settings with the magnet. And if I press Control, I can snap. And for these, I need to use a little more because they have a different width. All right. This one needs to extrude to the top some more. All right, like that. So we're not going to worry about that outsticking thing yet. Right now, we're just going to leave it like this. And most important thing, save it. All right, so that's a little more of the basic shape there. Another part of the basic shape is the cutout for the big door on the bottom. And for that, we're going to go into wireframe mode, because who doesn't love himself some wireframes? And here we actually see that the ground of the building is not actually the ground of the picture. And to adjust that, we're going to drag the picture down the right spot, and then we're going to back to our 3D model. Come on, where is it? It's super thin now, it's wireframe. And we're going to drop these. Right, so now this fits again. I'm going to grab our knife tool. The knife tool is so handy. We're going to place it around here, and now we're going to have an eyeball it a little. It doesn't really matter if it's not perfect because we're going to adjust that in a second. And we're just going to trace this. And as you can see, like, I didn't put the building in the middle, so that means the building is going to be a little wider than it's supposed to. You can still adjust that by moving this and then scaling this in. And I have to scale it so the roof still doesn't really work. Okay, we have to scale this back then. Oop. So it's more or less fixes it. So yeah, we have the door here. And for now, we're going to grab this face of the door, just one. I'm going to hit P. And with P, we're going to place it in a separate model. So if we go back here, we see that we have a door here, and it's separate from the actual model. All right, and the other one we don't need, so we're going to delete it. We don't need the bottom one. Okay, back to this one. We can see that there's more holes to be made, and those are the windows. And of course, the door in the air. So we're going to cut it here. And this time we're going to use C to make it straight. And drop it down to the right. All right, and we're going to cut this one also. There. And this is a bit tricky because you can't really match it up. So we're going to have to cut it like this, and then we're going to have to move these parts together. So let's see how this ended up. We can see that this thing is a bit weird, so we're going to cut it. And for now, we're going to use n-gons. I know it's not good practice, but we're going to make a quick building. It's not going to be needed for a game. And we have to do one weird thing, and that's remove doubles, because we still had double vertices. We created them on purpose, but we don't need them. And then the last one is, of course, the window on the top. Drop that down to there, voila. And we have cut out all the windows. We're going to delete these. Oh, I see that there are faces in the center. How did they get there? In the extrusion, of course. We're going to have to delete all these faces, because they're going to break the merging of the mirror modifier. Okay, we're going to hit P with these, just to have a quick shape already. I find like quads is of course the most preferable, but in some spaces it's really handy to have n-gons, because right here, like for true topology, you would like put these edges, you would put them true to the top, from there to there, and to the bottom, and you will have to create everything. But right now it's just making it more messy for me, because I'm not going to do anything with it yet. And I can use the knife modifier to cut straight of any form within. So for now, I can just leave an n-gon, and I can always fix it later. I can always later make it another topology. But for now, I'm just going to leave it n-gons, because they're really handy while you're working. So you see now we have the facade here with holes in it. Why am I doing this? I want to show it. With the holes in that, and we have the thing here. So we're going to make this door, and this door is actually behind here. So it's not inside the wall, but it's actually behind the wall. And probably it's also a square door. It's not, the door itself is not curved, because it's behind the wall. It doesn't have to be. So we're going to flatten these out and move them up until there. So now our door is square, because it actually probably is, but it looks another way because of the front of the building. Then there's another part we need to do, and that is of course the window over here. We're going to merge it all in one. We're going to see the vertices, and we're going to want to remove these. Wait. Dissolve vertices, dissolve vertices. All right. So we're going to put this inward. And for the facade, so hide this. As for the facade, you can see that it's inward, so the stone is actually touching here. So we're just going to connect these all. And I'm using the F2 add-on, by the way, for this. It's just, you can find it in the add-on view, and it makes it really quick to add faces to something like this. Same with door, F2, F, 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 F. Same with this one, F, 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 F. All right. I'm going to bring this back so I can move these to the same spot. And I was stupid because I deleted this one, so I'm going to have to get these back, get it out of there. All right, and I see that the door has actually flipped normal, so we're going to press Ctrl N. All right, so now for the window, we're going to do the window very quick. So I'm going to hide this to have a better view of the window over here, and we're going to eyeball all of the detail in here. So, okay, not all of it. We're first going to make a cut. Around there. All right, and then we're just going to eyeball it, because it's not too important that it's super perfect. So we have it like this, and then inside we have 5 vertical and 2 horizontal. So we're going to add 1 cut over here, and we're going to add 4 cuts over here. And I actually don't want it to get through to the other side. And Blender hashs are awesome, guys. So, okay, so now I can freely cut here and give this one 4. I'm counting right? Yeah, it's 4. Okay. So, and now we select all these. And now we're going to press I again, but we're going to press it twice. And that way we get a neat little division between all of the smaller windows. And this we're going to move inwards. And now it's all about, like, edges for windows is all about like adding detail. Because you can move them in and scale them down as much as you want. And one thing we need to do is scale them by visual origin. Yeah, they're recorded, so don't worry about it. We're scaling this in a little more. We're going to extrude these. There. Okay, and for now, we're actually going already. Since we have these selected anyway, we're going to make a new material. For this material, we're going to select, this is a personal setting on me, it's PBR shaders, get them from any tutorial online. I'm going to use the refraction, which is glass. I'm going to assign the material to that. So if we now go back to this, you see that these windows are actually white. And now we're going to do the same with this one. Except for the part where if I do this, I'm going to get rid of this top part and move these up. All right, and now we're going to do the same here. So we're going to put it in, move it a little backwards. I'm going to move it in again. Actually, no, we're going to move it backwards. Because this window is different. This window is more in the back because it actually has a smaller part that can move. So you can open the window. Adding entries to anything. Yeah, they're not going to end up anytime soon. So adding one more ring here. And I'm using the I button and the E button to like stretch it all different ways. And then we're going to cut these up. And these ones also have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3. So we're going to have to do 4 here, and 3 there. All right, and then select these. Double press I, move them in a little bit, move them backwards, and assign these to another material. Okay, so we basically added a window to the building within a few minutes. Okay, quickly going to do this for the other windows as well. This one's going to be a bit tricky since it's split. So if you do I, see that it's split this way. So what we can do is just get rid of the mirror or apply the middle modifier, and now we can just use this one. I'm going to remove the edge loop for now. Whoops, come on. Edge loops. Insert. Insert. And extrude. Okay, so here, to there. Select them all, same story. Double press I, extrude, and assign them to glass. All right, center part. Going to do the same here. I'm going to apply the mirror modifier so I can get rid of the center loop. I'm going to see if this edge is at the right place. Over there. All right. Oop. We're going to strip this off there by pressing the Y button. Wait, what happened? Something went wrong. Oh, nothing. Sorry, it's just my imagination. So, just going to cut this up here in 4, 2. Right. And the handy thing is, because from the start, oops, made a mistake there. Oop. I made everything from the same material. Okay, so oop. Now we add the door in the middle. Oop. Oh wait, I still have the individual points on. I'm going to put this there, and with the bevel, I'm going to quickly give this. Oh, I need to add. Cool. So with the bevel, I'm going to quickly add center to this. Move this backwards to create a crease. All right, so I mostly have all the things for the facade fixed in terms of windows. We're going to add a wood material for the windows because there's a white. We're going to call this glass. We're going to turn this one into stone. And we're going to turn this one into door wood. Okay, so it's time to do some texturing for now. And this is what I talk when I talk about going in steps, because I'm going to now add textures for this, and then I'm going into more detail after. But if I show this to like a customer and he says, okay, but you have been working on for an hour on this, or 1.5? No, an hour now, right? I don't want to pay you anymore because I can't. Just give me this with the textures, of course. Then I can stop. But if you say, well, it's just not there and I have some more to spend, well, you can go further. And not necessarily in this way, of course. It goes in more like more talk and more beforehand, not in the last minute. But like this, what I mean with like I can scale the detail. I can scale the amount of work I'm going to put in this. And so for now, I'm not going to put much more work in this. So for now, we're going to the materials and we're going to apply stone texture. So I have a textures folder here on the side. And I bought them from Gumroad. Wait, do I still? Oh, I opened something else. Textures. I bought this pack on Gumroad. It's really great to like find a good material pack for like a couple of bucks, and it's really going to save your ass when you need it. And it's also going to make your image not use the same as everyone else on the internet who needs free textures. Because you're gonna notice that sometime. Okay, let's see if we have a stone texture that we can use. The thing is, like he didn't do red bricks. You only did old bricks in this pack, so we're going to need to use one from textures.com. Okay, so if I go to my folder, I can just drop it in from here. Stone. There it is. Okay, so I believe it's the same one I actually used for the castle. Anyway, I'm just going to use Smart UV and Wrap for this. Sometimes it does it really weird, so we have to turn this. We have to flip it. Okay. All right, you can see that the stones are way too small, but luckily it's a seamless texture, so we can just scale it up to the size we have here. All right. And then we're going for the wood texture, and we're going to grab some wood. Wood. Have a nice clean wood texture over here. That's great for painting. So currently, like, pay attention that like currently I'm not doing all the things that would make it super great. I'm just doing it very quickly. I'm just dropping in a texture. Bam, I have my preset pre-PBR node setup done, so it's going to look PBR correct. And just dropping in a photo, unwrapping. Now going to select all the wood thing. Just do smart UV unwrap. And it's not going to be super pretty, but it's enough for this. So we just do the window. We can do the same with the door. Actually turn this 90 degrees around. So it's vertically. And the top one. Also turn it around. All right, and we have added wood to there. So now we're just going to change the color of it a bit. Saturation, we're going to desaturate the whole thing because it's white. Add a little value. All right, and we have white windows. So these ones are actually quite glossy. So we're going to tune down on the roughness. I'm going to save it because things always crash with Blender. If we look at the rendered version now, there's one big thing missing, and that is that we have a terrible HDRI. So we're going to our settings here, and we need one for yeah, okay, yes, but SketchUp is an angle editor, that's true, and that's why it makes it fast. But SketchUp is like really, really loose with it, and it makes faces and stuff at places where you don't want it. And using it in Blender is way more strict, but it also allows you for very fast workout using the knife tool and n-gons together, and that's where like the power comes. What was I selecting? Oh, I'm going to select the texture, environment, and I'm just going to do a city. Currently it's not the correct city because the city I'm selecting, you don't see it here because I have another texture here. So it's not like it's a realistic city. So it's not still not the right HDR, but for now it's more realistic than. I'm going to put this back to the other one. More realistic than the other option. Let's see, we can use medium high contrast. All right, change the color a bit, just blue. All right, the glass window is looking a bit weird now because it's, when you look through it, it's actually picking out on the back. But yeah. And so that what makes it great quickly now, that is because we can add like also kind of detail really fast. So this is the last thing I'm going to do, and that's because I'm going to make these black iron things over here. So we're going to focus on this. I'm going to move to another layer so I can focus on this one. And to look at it from the front, I'm going to add a path. add a path. Let's see if it's straight. Yep. Rotate it upwards. And now I'm going to just move the object to the right place so we can easily move it to the center. I'm going to use this path to create these things that are sticking in the wall, the anchors. Put this here, and then we're going to copy this over, extrude it, extrude it, extrude it, extrude it, extrude it. Copy this one here, extrude, 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 extrude. So we're taking a bit wider than the actual curve. And I'm not going to go as far as this thing goes. Because if we select the thing and we're going to increase the curviness of it, you're going to see that it's more curvy than the thing itself. Just going to just bring this in, make this nice and circular. Right. Same with this one. Increase the resolution. Increase the roundiness. All right. I'm going to select both of these. Copy them over. For the last part, we need this one. Okay, so we have a rough edit of these, and I forget. No, I can just leave that. So we're going to put this on full, and now we're going to increase the depth. Just like this. And we have a wall anchor. And I'm going to maybe make it 9 millimeters. All right, and we're going to add a new metallic shader. I'm going to make it clear off, really dark. All right. So now that we have these wall anchors, we can move them to another layer. We can just place them on the wall, and it's just a small thing, but it's hugely going to increase the amount of detail that's visible on this piece. We don't really. Okay. Like we can even go loose a bit, because we're not going to make it straight as it is, and we're going to make it a bit more classy by adding a little more than these than there probably were, because these are holding up a floor. So if one's here, that means that there's a beam here to the back. But maybe in this building we have added another beam over here, so you need one more. It's still not illogical, but it's playing a bit with the facts to make it look more as we want it to. So then we have another one on the side, which is actually the beam that's holding up the roof bar. So there's one over there, of course. And then there's one holding up the roof bar at the half of the house. Of course, is there going to be one at the top? But this one we're going to change a little because we're going to add one extra curve to it. Because as I said, this one has a crane on top of it. All right, let's see, increase curviness. All right, so it's probably not the super pretty one. It's kind of simple, but something like this would be on this house. Maybe it's bent because of the weight it had to lift. Okay. And then the thing that's really going to finish it for now is what's a little stone slab that we're going to put on this roof piece. So it's just like that. And it actually has a slow shadow thing in there. So we're going to use I, extend it a little more, I, extend it a little more. And unwrap this with Smart UV Project. Go to materials. We're going to take a new dielectric shader, add image, open, let's see, stone. I'm just going to add these concrete to it. Grab it, drop it down, connect it with these stone things. We're going to copy it over and use it here. And over here, but bigger version. Yeah, I'm selecting the one. All right, if we look at it now, over here, it's still not as pretty as our reference, but it's getting there fairly quickly. And it's because we're choosing what we're using and what we're not using. So we're not going to add all the details. And things that might really enhance it a little bit is adding the cornerstones here around the thing. So that might be something we might consider. Something we do need to do is add a texture for the door though. There's our door. So it's a different door, but it doesn't really matter now. And it's actually not square. Project from view this time. I'm going to put this over here, and because my UVs are mirrored in the modifier, it's going to copy these over. Where's our texture? Drag and drop, connect, and we have a door. Like, I think you see the point of the taking a thing taking a thing and adding more and more detail over time and making it more realistic. But giving yourself the ability to stop whenever you want and not end up with an ugly setting. Just to show off the growth. Because we were talking about that. The growth lets you grow trees by just clicking a button of growth of year. So it's currently on ash, and every time I click grow, you see it's now here in the center. It adds years to the tree. So it's going to grow bigger and bigger. And like within seconds, we have a giant tree that's totally unique. Okay, not completely unique, but it has features that no other tree has. The castle scene. Castle scene didn't take me that long, I think. I'm not going to go to. I'm just going to cut this over. So it's winter, and these trees are just here for now. I'm going to use a texture for the floor. Stone. All right, so yeah, I know this is this is for real. This is where I'm going to leave it. So yeah, this was the last presentation of the World Blender Meetup Day.